Sam Dostler from the Connecticut State Golf Association, and today on 15 Minutes With, we are joined by Nathan Grube, the tournament director, of course, of the Travelers Championship. The Travelers Championship, the 2017 Tournament of the Year, 17-18 Players' Choice Award, of course, the big PGA Tour event here in Connecticut. TV only this year, broadcast by CBS and Golf Channel from June 25 to June 28. Nathan, thanks so much for taking a few minutes to join us and talk about the upcoming Travelers Championship.
Happy to be here, Sam. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, of course. So obviously it's a little bit different of a planning year as far as the Travelers Championship goes. It wasn't too long ago you weren't even sure, is it going to stay on the calendar? Is it going to get moved? But how has the planning been going since getting word a couple of weeks ago that the plan is to hold the Travelers Championship at the end of June?
So to your point, there was this strange time where I think we were planning about 4 different versions of the Travelers Championship. It ran the spectrum of, okay, when you saw the Players Championship get canceled, I think every tournament after that started going, oh my gosh, what if? And so we started working backwards from, okay, what if we're canceled, to, okay, limited build, no build, fans, no fans, like all these different scenarios. And it really was, it was factoring into what were we going to be able to do in the timeline? Were we going to be able to get construction crews out here? Were we going to be able to ship all the equipment in? So there was all of that logistically going on. And then it was really, okay, what's the safest thing to do for everyone? What's the right thing to do? And we spent a lot of time with the tour talking about this. And when the announcement came out, I want to say, oh gosh, it was last month, but it said, hey, we're going to be, this return to golf made for TV, no fan scenario. And people were like, wow, do you really think you can do it? And we thought, well, there's no way we can do it right now, right? Like under the current conditions, like we're not saying that we're going to be able to hold this tournament in April with everything happening, but there was this hope and this aspirational look towards June going, okay, if things progress how they are, if the right testing is in place, if we can get all the safety protocols worked out, we could see this happening in June. And it's interesting because, typically it takes us about 15 months to plan one tournament. So you're kind of those last few months going into the tournament, you're really working already on next year as you're working on that year's. And so when we found out, I was, mid-April, whatever that was, end of April, it was, it was a challenge to say, okay, let's build this tour event now, one that we've never done before like this. Let's think about things totally differently, and we need to do it in the next 75 days. And so it's been crazy. It's been one of those things where you're there's this backdrop of all this stuff going on in the world, and yet you're still planning something that you hope is going to take place. And we're working with the governor, trying to be very careful on everything that we're doing and saying, and being in lockstep with them, making sure we're in lockstep with the town and Travelers and the PGA Tour. So a lot of logistics with it, and just scenarios of like, what if this happens? What if this happens? What if this happens? And so I would say that our team and the Travelers team over the years, they've been really good at planning for contingencies. Like, okay, we're an outdoor event. Everybody who loves the game of golf knows you have to deal with the weather. You have to deal with these things that you can't control. And so we have it kind of in our DNA to think about all these contingency plans. But this scenario was one that we had not run out. And so it has been all new for us, all new for the tour, but a lot of good people working on it, a lot of people wanting to do the right thing for our charities. If it's safe, we can get back and play. So it's been something I think we've never experienced before. So it's been very interesting to be a part of.
Talking with Nathan Grube, the tournament director for the Travelers Championship. How often, now that you're sort of in the process of building this tournament out, how often are you in contact with the PGA Tour?
At least once a day, sometimes multiple times a day. So I would say the last, month, 6 weeks, we have been on daily calls with them. Sometimes it'll be 10 in the morning, sometimes it'll be 6 o'clock at night. It really depends, but just making sure that we're on the same page with them, they're on the same page with us. And they have 5 or 6 people on the call, from competitions to, the sponsor team, to rules, to the communication and broadcast department, to the safety team. So we have a standing call every single day. And like I said, sometimes they're 10 minutes, sometimes they're 45 minutes, but we have been in daily contact with them.
So even though this is a TV only event this season, the field is still phenomenal. I know you guys have done fantastic work building up the field each and every year. Three-time winner Bubba Watson is back. World number one Rory McIlroy, number four Justin Thomas, Patrick Reed and Patrick Cantley, both top 10 players. So even though there's going to be no fans on site, it's really shaping up to be what has almost become expected of the Travelers, a really exciting tournament that, as always, has the potential to come down to a very fun and heart-pounding finish on the 18th hole.
So what we are very fortunate that we have a good golf course. The players like competing on it. They talk about it. That, to your point, it's fair, but it also rewards good shots. It punishes bad shots. It has a very exciting, Final Four finishing holes, drivable par fours, places you can make double bogey and lose the tournament. So it's a good competitive golf course that doesn't favor one type of game. So I mean, that's the first place you start. I mean, if you don't have a golf course that the players like, it's an uphill battle from a recruiting standpoint, from getting players here. And we've always been very lucky that the guys like the golf course. The tweaks that have been made, the new practice facility, the new clubhouse. The players like it. But again, and it also just doesn't favor one guy. I mean, I think back to Bubba's first win. Sometimes people forget this. When he won the first time in 2010, he was in a playoff with Corey Pavin. And it was, at the time, the tour's shortest hitter against the tour's longest hitter on a golf course where they had both shot the same score by Sunday afternoon at 5 p.m. And when you can get a golf course that doesn't favor anybody, and it's like, hey, anybody can win out here, I think that's where the guys like it. And so we've been very lucky over the last few years where, when you get guys saying good things about it, like a Bubba, in Sergio and Justin Rose and those guys that were here in the early years when Travelers took over, and then they would talk good about it, and then they would come back, and then other players start hearing about it, and then you get Rory coming for the first time, you get Jordan coming from the first time. And I remember talking to Michael Greller on like Wednesday of the first year that Spieth was here, and he said, I forget exactly how he said it, but he basically said, my guy loves this track. And I said, it's a good track. He goes, I think we can win here. And sure enough, he ended up winning in 17. So,
Right.
I mean, when you get players talking about it, and like Webb Simpson coming out when he first came out, going, I like this golf course, and Ricky Fowler and those guys, it just it helps. And so when it fits in the guy's schedule and it makes sense, they know they like the golf course and it has a good reputation. And then it turns out like what's happening this year. I mean, the field is shaping up. People have asked me, they said, has anybody withdrawn? That, given everything, I said, actually exactly the opposite. I said, more guys are talking to us saying, hey, we're thinking about coming, haven't been there in a couple of years. I mean, there's going to be a few more top 10 guys committing to the event as of right now. So it could be just an amazing show on TV. And I think it is going to be to your point, I think it's going to make for some really good television.
And to that point, how will the competition look different this year, with it being TV only, with it being no fans, with your conversations with the PGA Tour? What's going to be different? What are some things that the viewers at home can expect?
Well, I think the course setup is going to be very similar. Like I said, the course plays very fair, rewarding good shots, punishing bad shots. I think the guys respect that. Our course typically by the tournament time is very fast greens, and they're crowned. I mean, you have to be very accurate with your irons as you're going in, and so from a competition standpoint, I mean, it's not like the grandstands were so high that it affected the wind, or
Right.
it's not that there are any changes made to the competition because of the infrastructure we put up. So I think the course itself will play, and I think you're going to get both sides of the spectrum. I think you're going to get guys going, man, okay, now I can actually relax and play and really take it deep because I'm not, so concerned with what's happening around me with the crowds. And I think you're going to get other guys going, the energy, and like, I think it's going to be all over the place as far as what guys can expect. And it was, I think, who said it? I think it was maybe Rory that said it. He said, you have to forget, or you can't forget that there's so many guys on tour that don't play in front of huge crowds, right? It's not like every single guy on tour plays in front of massive crowds every week. I mean, the vast majority, 98% of tour players probably play under conditions that are not like a Rory or a Jordan or guys like that. So Rory was saying for a lot of guys, it's not going to be that different these first four events because just their normal how they play. But I think it's going to be across the board. But I think the course is going to be. I think the guys will appreciate the golf course even more, and so I think it's going to be an exciting field.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun. I know I'm looking forward to getting a chance to watch. So year after year, and I know this is super important to you guys and to the local community. We're talking with Nathan Grube, the tournament director for the Travelers Championship, scheduled June 25th to 28th, TV only this year. But the Travelers Championship always makes a huge impact on charities throughout the local community. And I was just reading an article actually this morning about it a little bit, but how will the tournament still remain active in that regard this year?
So when we kind of set out this new format, right, with the tour saying, okay, like I mentioned earlier, the different formats we were going through, like, okay, are we going to have hospitality? Or are we not? Are we going to have fans on property? Or are we not? Are we going to have pro-ams? Or are we not? And when we came down to this format, I mean, the three things that were driving us were safety first, charity. How are we going to make an impact on charity? And then how are we going to make sure the community stays excited about this? Like, getting the players talking about the field, getting the information out there. So charity really is, I mean, one of the pillars. And we said, okay, we're going to have to rethink our model, right? I mean, because we're an event where 100% of the net proceeds from the tournament go back to charities in our community. And last year was about 2.1 million. And so when you look at that, you say, okay, how are you going to generate money for charity with a different business model? And we got extremely creative, sat down with our sponsors and said, look, here's the situation. We don't have the same inventory. We don't have the same business model, but we still want to have an impact on charity. And it has been really cool, Sam, to see how many of our sponsors have said, we still want to make a donation to the tournament charities, even though we're not getting anything out of it. Like, we still want to make sure that there is a charitable impact. And we have had so many of our sponsors make donations to us for our tournament charities. So we're still going to be able to make a significant donation and impact to charity. We're still running our Birdies for Charity program, which is a program where charities get donations and we give 15% on whatever donations they get. We tack 15% onto it through our Birdies for Charity program. So that's one platform. And then we have other things that we're doing to generate funds. But our sponsors have been unbelievably generous, and there will still be an impact to charity because of the event. Now we're still, a ways away as far as what that impact is going to be. But I am been very encouraged by, I think, our sponsors understanding why golf is different. I mean, why, when you support a PGA Tour event, we've always tried to be very clear. The net proceeds of what you invest with us is going here. And then we bring our charities out, we tell their stories. We make sure our sponsors see the connection between their investment and where it goes. And so I think, we've tried, for years, to do that, to make sure everybody understands, there's not an owner of this event that's making money off the Travelers Championship. Whatever the tournament makes gets pushed back out into our community. And so I think that message has really resonated, and they're making donations. So I think we'll still have a really good impact for our charities.
Yeah, that's great to hear. I know, because of course it's important to the Travelers Championship and the PGA Tour as a whole, as far as making sure that they're very active within charities. I want to get you out on this one, Nathan. We've talked about how it's TV only, no crowds this year. As you know, and I know I've been going to the tournament every year since 1999. So I've found a way to make my way into it in some capacity over the years, but no huge crowds this year, no fans at all. What's your message to the fans who love to go, who make it part of their yearly calendar, who have to watch from home this year?
I would say this, and I would say if you get into a situation this year where we're comparing ourselves against any other year, that's kind of the wrong mentality. I mean, this is something that's like an apples and oranges, in my opinion, because like this is a scenario that nobody has ever encountered, right? I mean, when you look at what's going on around the world, this isn't something that's affecting one industry, right? Like, hey, the banking industry or real estate or pharmaceuticals, whatever it is, like this is something that's affecting every single person on this planet. And so when you look at the backdrop of what we're trying to do and what we're trying to be a part of the third week in June to, very delicately and safely bring back sports to the global platform, and being able to do that in the right way, in a safe way that's never been done before. We've never brought sports back in this environment. So when I look at this year, I'm looking at it as something that's never been done before, and not saying, oh, wow, we don't have fans. Like, that's going to come, right? 2021, 22. I mean, hopefully for, years and years to come, like, you're going to see crowds out there. But to look at this year and compare it to another year, I don't think is the right thing. You got to look at this year in this bubble that we're in and say, man, we're going to be able to actually pull this off in a safe way, in a way that's going to be one of the strongest fields we've ever had, and in a way that's going to basically show the world, hey, Connecticut can be a part of this message of, hey, we can get back to some sort of normal in a very careful way. And this is one of the first steps to making that happen. Like, that's what we're a part of, like, that's what we're doing. We're not trying to be last year's tournament. We're literally trying to be a part of something that's happening on the global stage. And when our fans are watching it from TV, like, that's what they're a part of. I mean, they should be celebrating how the heck we were as a community able to do this in 2020, given everything else. And we did it in a way that we're all proud of. It's a safe way that highlights it. And we're going to have, some of the best golfers in the world right here. And then they're going to experience that. And then honestly, just like before, when you introduce this golf course to these players, they like it. And so if there's players that come this year that haven't been before, they're going to go, man, I like that golf course. I want to come back in the future. So we're, planting seeds for the future with some guys that are saying they're going to come, that hopefully we'll be able to announce in the next 3-4 weeks. So I don't know. That's what I would say to the fans. That was a long-winded answer to that, but that's what I would say to the fans for this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great way to look at it, and I think you're exactly right about how it gives Connecticut a chance to help the world and the country and the region, however you want to put it, begin to move forward, and like you stressed, in that safe way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree. I mean, if we were trying to do something that looked like previous years in this environment, it wouldn't be responsible. We are going to do this in the safest possible way that we can, and not having fans on property. I think there should be an element that we should be proud of, that saying we're taking this safe route to do this, and yet we're still holding a PGA Tour event. And that's something that we should, I think, as a community, be proud of, that we're able to do it, and to do it in a safe way.
He's been Nathan Grube, the tournament director for the Travelers Championship, June 25th to 28th. It's a TV-only event this year, CBS and Golf Channel. Nathan, I know you guys have been working hard. I know your days are pretty jam-packed, but thanks for taking a few minutes, and continued success with the planning. And we can't wait to watch in about, 6 weeks' time now?
Yeah, it's coming up, and it's getting really close. Thank you for the time, and everybody listening. Thanks for all the support, and hopefully they enjoy the show.
Again, Nathan Grube, tournament director for the Travelers Championship. I've been Sam Dostler from the Connecticut State Golf Association. Thanks so much for listening.